Now, this year's World Cup in North America is the largest one ever, and that's not just about the number of matches and revenue for FIFA, but also for online betting. Around $43 billion will be placed in bets during the competition, that's according to estimates. In Brazil, where casinos and slot machines are illegal, betting apps have exploded after they were legalised in 2018. But gambling is having severe financial and also mental consequences. Our correspondent in Rio de Janeiro, Jan Onoszko, is standing by. Jan, just how big has online betting become in Brazil?
Well, betting here is very popular indeed, and it's also heavily promoted through advertising. As you say, it was only legalized in 2018, but it was only last year that the federal government began to regulate the market, and according to their statistics, last year 25 million Brazilians placed a bet, and it led to a gross revenue of 6.3 billion euros for those online betting agencies. Now, since the World Cup started earlier this month, the adverts here have just exploded. You see them everywhere. They're on the metro, they're on buses, they're online. They're on the TV as well, and it's not surprising because Brazil is a football-mad nation. The whole of the country stops every time that Brazil plays, and it's the main topic of conversation at the moment. In fact, 37% of Brazilians say that they intend to place a bet at some point during the World Cup, and that means that according to one consultancy firm, between 3.5 billion and 4 billion euros will be placed in bets in Brazil during the competition.
So what then have been the main consequences of this explosion in online betting in Brazil?
Well, the main problem is getting into debt, and a record number of families in Brazil are already in debt. 80% of them, in fact, according to research that was published in March. And there's a very specific profile for gamblers in Brazil. They're mostly young men who earn low incomes. 52% of them earn up to twice the minimum monthly wage here in Brazil. So that means they earn up to just 540 euros. And of course, with increased debt comes, of course, increased mental health problems. According to the Brazilian government, more than 500,000 Brazilians have asked for their access to these online betting agencies to be blocked. And the reason that 41% of them cite for that decision are mental health problems. Now, the government says it's also trying to protect the most vulnerable Brazilians from the dangers of online gambling. So, for example, beneficiaries of certain benefits in Brazil, like Bolsa Familia for the poorest families, and also BPC for disabled Brazilians, those beneficiaries are now banned from opening new accounts with online betting agencies. And there are also restrictions in the way that these agencies can be advertised. They can't be seen to portray betting as easy money or as extra income or even as an investment. In fact, Brazil's public prosecutor's office is currently holding an inquiry into the international company Blaze. Now, the global brand ambassador for Blaze is actually the footballer Neymar, and so the Brazilian government, the public prosecutor, is looking at whether Blaze has contravened any of these laws. What's ironic is that there's a bill going through Brazil Congress at the moment that would ban sports personalities like Neymar from advertising and promoting online betting agencies. It's already been approved in the Senate, but it still has to pass and be approved in the lower house of Brazil's Congress before it becomes law.